Lorimer Moseley is the world's leading researcher into how pain works. He knows this because his own nervous system demonstrated it on him. One morning in the Australian bush, on a dawn walk near a river, he felt something prick his ankle, sharp enough to make him flick his foot, sharp enough for a tiny ooh, not sharp enough to stop him walking. That was it. What had bitten him was an eastern brown snake, the species responsible for more snakebite deaths in Australia than any other. He survived. Over the following weeks, he felt the venom's effects, but in the moment of the bite, he felt almost nothing. Pain is not produced by the nerve. The nerve sends a report. Not pain a report. The brain receives it and asks one question: how dangerous is this? Then it generates pain proportional to the danger it believes you are in. Not the damage, the danger. On that calm morning, Moseley's brain received the report, scanned the scene, and reached its verdict: not very dangerous. Almost no pain. The nerve didn't change. The brain's opinion did, but the brain learns. In the months after the bite, his nervous system stored a lesson. This sensation, in this landscape, means something lethal. 6 months later, Moseley was walking in a national park in Sydney with a small group. He was trapped in a conversation he couldn't escape. Something pricked the outside of his left leg, just above the ankle. He described it later an electric, burning sensation. The pain shot up his leg like a bolt. He doubled over onto a rock. His friend called the ambulance and told them to hurry. A man had been bitten by a snake and had a minute to live. It was a scratch from a twig. A single tiny scratch mark. The paramedics found a scratch. The world's leading pain researcher, on the ground, over a twig. He writes about this without embarrassment because the embarrassment is the science. 40 hours a week studying this system. It did not care what he knew. Same nervous system, same sensation. But this time, the brain retrieved its stored lesson and assessed the threat as maximum pain output. Pain is always real, 100% real. The agony Moseley felt in Lane Cove was genuine, neurologically produced, undeniably real. The question is not whether pain is real. The question is what it is measuring. If you have ever felt pain that stayed long after the injury healed, your brain was running this same calculation. Not damage your brain's assessment of danger. Same tissue event, completely different answer. Moseley was not the only one to notice. In 1944, on a battlefield in Italy, an American doctor named Henry Beecher was doing his job offering morphine to wounded soldiers. He had been trained his entire career to believe that severe injury produces severe pain. So he went from man to man, looked at their wounds, offered the drug, and most of them said no. They were simply not in severe pain. He spent years trying to understand what he had seen. For months, these men had been living with no guarantee they would survive. They had watched friends die. Every day brought the possibility of death and no way out. Then they were wounded. For the first time in months, the future was certain. A wound meant they were leaving. They were going home. The most dangerous chapter of their lives had just ended, and the brain's answer changed. The danger is behind me now. The same tissue damage. Almost no pain. Because the brain's question, how dangerous is this, really had a completely different answer. Lisa Feldman Barrett has spent her career proving something that connects Moseley's twig to Beecher's battlefield. Your brain does not receive pain from the world. It generates it, like a forecast. And like any forecast, it can be wrong. Some people's pain persists beyond the injury. The scan is normal, the blood work is clean, and the pain is absolutely real because pain has never required damage. All it requires is a brain that has assessed the situation as dangerous. But the assessment can change. The brain that learned danger from a snakebite can learn something different, not by overriding it, by feeding it new evidence. Moseley tells patients 3 words: hurt does not equal harm. Patients who understand this begin to move differently. They stop bracing, they stop guarding. And when the body stops guarding, the brain receives new evidence. The forecast begins to shift. Your pain is not a verdict, it is a guess. And guesses can be revised.